over to these, advertisers and stuff like that for this petition because it's not worth it. It really isn't. You're wasting your time. Do something responsible. Get out there and help your community.
We get that people want to have a sense of doing something, and maybe you actually think that you are, but please research it. I mean, seriously. I mean, you're not only wasting your time, you're basically kind of fucking the rest of us over because your time and effort is being...
You're being taken. Your
time and effort is being put towards something that is, I hate to say worthless, but I don't know how else to sugarcoat it. And that is a lot of time and effort. Seriously. So work on a community level, a state level. Try to do something to actually help you directly. Even if for some reason efforts to impeach the president work, realistically, how is that going to help you on a local level? Is it going to raise your minimum wage? Is it going to fix your school systems? Is it going to do... It's not going to do fucking shit. So, I don't know, maybe get behind a candidate or run for office or just start showing up at some local meetings, city council, school board.
Show up at your congressman's town hall or your senators. Well, wait, they're not having those these days. But yeah, make yourself active. I mean, whatever issue you support, actually get out there and do it. Don't just do it from behind your computer. Actually get out there and do it. If you believe in wanting to help get animals, adopted at your local shelters, well, go volunteer at the shelters. Help feed the dogs. Help walk the dogs and cats and this, that. Well, you don't really walk cats because they don't
like that.
There's a lot of things you can do, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. So, let's think of it that way. Educate yourself, okay? Educate yourself on how government works. Okay? It's necessary for people to understand how their government works to make them good, dutiful citizens when it comes to actually doing stuff like, vote, or understand how government works so they're not flying around with some crappy-ass petition that doesn't do shit. So, you can work on that stuff.
That's the sad thing. Don't be the one that promotes false hope. Because I think a lot of people think that when they get petitions from certain organizations that they're I don't know, it sort of validates them like, oh, I'm doing something, I'm sharing this, I've signed it, I've shared it, and other people are signing it and sharing it. But realistically, at the end of the day, it's a diversion, it's a distraction. There's a bunch of other stuff that basically you're kind of not seeing when you're trying to be a do-gooder, and there's no ROI to it. Even if you get 10 good...
That's return on investment for those of you that don't know.
I mean, seriously, even if you get like 10 million signatures, some fucking flunky intern's just going to take a hold of them and going to toss them in the fucking trash
File
can.
13. Gone.
And I mean, that's really sad. That's seriously a lot of time and a lot of effort to something that doesn't actually... Also, if you really want to get involved, show up at some local meetings and find out what you can do on a community level.
Right. So, next thing to talk about, for those of you that have been watching and worrying about what's happening with everyone's health care, Trump Care failed to pass the House today.
That's because it's an oxymoron. He doesn't care.
Well, that's not why it failed. But so Trump Care failed at the House today. In the House. Now, of course, Donald Trump is now trying to blame pretty much everybody for the failure, as opposed to the fact that it was a crappy ass bill. He's blaming the Democrats, which is a fucking riot, because in the House of Representatives, for this Trump Care bill to pass the House of Representatives, it needed 215 votes. And in the House of Representatives in our country, there are 237 Republicans. And it could not get enough votes to pass. So he blamed the Democrats, who none of the Democrats would have even had to vote, and it still would have passed. So, so now we're up to that. Paul Ryan apparently said that Obamacare is the law of the land after spending so much taxpayer money repealing it or trying to repeal it over and over and over 50-something times over the past 4 to 6 years. Yeah, now all of a sudden he's saying it's law of the land. Yeah, our government is screwed up right now, folks. I don't know if you guys have been watching. I think that we as a people need to actually start paying a lot more attention to what's going on as opposed to what we're being told that's going on. All right. The media is in the pocket of government, period. And what you're being spoon-fed on Fox News or MSNBC or CNN or whatever nightly news station that you're watching, you're being fed bullshit. You're being fed opinion. You're not getting just the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. And that's part of the problem because people just don't seem to understand anymore that what you're seeing on TV doesn't necessarily mean that's actually what's happening in the world. And I think that we need to clear that up. People need to actually start paying attention to what's actually going on as opposed to what they're being told is going on. Dogs are running around the house doing stuff.
We're in trouble.
That's one of the things that happened today. Okay. What other things happened today? Do we have anything other interesting stories? You're sitting there playing around on your phone. Apparently, the healthcare bill was pulled on order of the president. Apparently, Trump was unhappy that his son-in-law was busy skiing as the bill took the fall at the taxpayers' cost. That's one of the other things we need to look at. Okay, our new president has spent millions of dollars in the past 2 months going on vacation. Remember how he used to say during his campaign that there was too much work to do for him to spend time taking vacations, and he always lambasted Obama about how many golf trips he took or how many vacations he took. And he's already in 2 months spent more money on golf land vacations than President Obama did in 8 years. When are people going to start figuring out that this guy is a con artist and he just conned the whole country? Not the whole country, because there's a lot of us that didn't vote for him. As a matter of fact, the majority of the country did not vote for him. But the Electoral College did. But anyway, that's a whole other blah story. But when are you people going to actually fucking pull your head out of your ass and realize that our country is being handed over bit by bit to a bunch of private corporations? And once it's complete, we are all, as people, fucked.
But until it directly affects people, they don't fucking care. They're too stupid to even see the goddamn signs.
No, they're not stupid. They're not stupid. They're just ignorant. Yes, stupid means willfully. No, stupid means unable to willfully choose. Whereas ignorance is lack of education or lack of knowledge. Okay.
But what if you don't want to believe something? Where does that fall in?
That's just
stupid.
No, that's ignorance. If you don't want to believe something, you're choosing not to. That's ignorance. Okay, stupid is just another whole topic. Okay, but people need to start paying attention to what their politicians are doing. Okay, here's an example of something, and I've debated whether or not I should even talk about it, but I'm going to anyway, just because we don't give a shit. One of the things that we've noticed here in Arizona, especially with a lot of these evangelical Tea Party types that run for office, they all hate Obamacare. They all hate government, federal government, say the government's taking
socialism.
Over, blah, blah, blah. They're afraid of socialism, blah, blah, blah. So, across my news feed yesterday, I got a GoFundMe went by my news feed.
Oh.
Okay. And this GoFundMe was done by somebody to help a state legislator whose son was in an accident of some sort. Now, this legislator is totally against socialism, totally against, universal health care, evangelical, Tea Partier to the max. And it was very ironic and, in a way, kind of hypocritical in my opinion, to see a GoFundMe set up for somebody that is so against, and so for saying that people need to take their own financial responsibility. Yet here's a GoFundMe because she's doing good work since she hasn't been able to go to work in 2 weeks because of her son, but we need to set up this GoFundMe to help her. Okay, first of all, and this has nothing to do with her, why is it that in our country, to be able to afford anything, you have to set up a fucking GoFundMe account?
We had a friend who just had to fucking bury his dad.
Had to set up a GoFundMe to afford the funeral.
That's fucking just beyond pathetic.
What kind of a fucked up world do we live in where you have to fundraise to bury your family members? Or you have to fundraise to get somebody to help pay for somebody's medical expenses? Is this the kind of country that you guys really want to live in, where we have to rely on the charity of others through, and remember, every time you do a GoFundMe, that's like 2.75% of all the donations goes to GoFundMe. So when you do a GoFundMe, you're helping to profit a company so that you can afford to do something that you're passionate about or you need to do. Just keep that in the back of your mind. I'll leave that, think about that. Take all the time you need. So anyway, when I saw this, there was a lot of things that popped into my head of what I wanted to say. For example, I guess that single payer health care that you've, and socialist health care that you're so afraid of sure looks pretty good right now because you're having to pay for all of this, But of course, she's on state benefits, so she probably has it much better than the rest of us pukes. And, there's that evil side of me that would just had all these different things that I just wanted to comment on about why should you have to use a GoFundMe? Shouldn't you have had the personal responsibility that you tout so much to be able to save up enough money so you could afford this yourself, as opposed to letting everybody else do it for you? I mean, there was a lot of stuff like that. And then the humanist part of me said, that's a family. It's a mother who's trying to provide for her family. And I shouldn't be negative towards that because I grew up in a family where my mother had to try to support 3 kids on her own. And it was difficult. And there were times where we didn't have enough food. We didn't have enough clothes. I know what that's like. So the little good angel on one side was telling me to, not go that route. That the evil side of me was telling me, oh, you should say this and you should say this. But what kind of a world is it where people have to rely on a GoFundMe or to set up a GoFundMe? Or why do people feel that that's the only way anymore? Simple, because we're all drowning in debt. Okay? We're all drowning in debt. We're all drowning because we can't afford stuff. The cost of food has gone up over the past 20 years. Back when I was in college, for $1.50, I could eat a whole meal at Taco Villa for $1.50. I could have 3 burritos for $1.50. Sit there, watch Cops or Rescue 911, I think is what I used to watch with William Shatner. But, I mean, it wasn't so expensive. You could buy a large pizza, a really nice large pizza for $10. Yeah, can you do that now? Hell no.
But it's not even that. I mean, what were we just talking about like a day or two on our long-ass commute to work? The amount of money we have put into our car insurance. We're both relatively good drivers. We've had, one accident in one ticket in how many years?
Yeah, we estimate...
And we're just getting raped.
We've been paying auto insurance to the same auto insurance company since 1993, 94. Because when we got the Neon, we got State Farm. So we have been paying insurance on our vehicles since 1995, which is...
a few years.
21 years, 22 years. Okay. And what do we have to show for it? We've had, in the past 20 years, we've had one accident, which wasn't the fault of ours, and I got one ticket. because I was in my brother's truck and wasn't used to the fact that it was much taller than the Neon.